Hey guys, this is not a sketchbook tour. Sorry to burst your bubble. But I posted on my Instagram story earlier today, and I was talking about how I wanted to maybe do like a tutorial for my style. And I had like quite a lot of people replying to it, like replying to my story, asking for me to go over some specific things, like how to shade faces and how I draw faces and like poses and stuff. So I thought I would go over like all of the basics and like show my process. I have shown my process on YouTube before, but last time I did that was like months ago and it's pretty outdated now. I have been practicing like drawing some faces. I'm on the fence about showing the last couple of pages, because I do want to go over some things in the next sketchbook tour, which is very soon, by the way. I'm only 9 pages until I'm done, so I want to save all that stuff for when I do the sketchbook tour. Also, I'm trying out like a new camera angle because whenever I have my tripod, like clipped to my desk over here on the side, my arm always fucking bumps up against it. I have to like have my leg against the side of my desk, and that makes me tweak the fuck out. So I'm putting it in a different place. I might change it. This might not be permanent. I don't fucking know. Also, you might see me or hear me moving around a lot. I'm sorry. I usually draw with my sketchbook on my lap. So when I draw with it on my desk, it's really fucking hard, and it makes my back hurt. So, but actually getting on to the drawing portion of the video, what I use is really, really cheap. I get them for like £15 a pack. Whoa, no, £1 per 15 pencils. That's what I meant to say, not £15. So, no, I think it's like a 20 pack. I buy a 20 pack that's £1 each. That is like, for my American viewers, that is less than $2, I think. I don't know. But they come with like one piece of lead in them, and they run out pretty quick. But you can buy, these ones specifically, they are a 0.7 nib. So I got this out of a mechanical pencil kit. Anyway, starting off with how I do like faces and stuff, I usually start off with like breaking it down into different shapes, kind of. So what I do is I do a circle. Okay. I need to figure out like what I'll just do front facing. I'll do front facing. But I draw a circle and then I break it into a like rectangle kind of square. And I make sure it's like pretty long. And then whenever you look at like a picture of a person, you can notice that you have the face and then you have the top of the head, which is like where the hair stops. There is always like a good 2 inches of space for the hair to be. So just in comparison to the rest of the face, I just add like a centimeter of space above the top. And this is gonna mark where the hair stops. And then draw a line right down the middle. And this, about midway through here, is where the actual scalp stops. And then this is just like leeway for the hair. So from this point down to the chin, you want to find where the middle point is, which I guess I already kind of marked that, and draw a line just straight across. And then this will mark where the eyes lie, because it is really hard to kind of notice just looking at a picture of someone, but when you actually like go more in depth, you can see that the eyes are not like up here in comparison to the face. They are right in the middle. So this is going to be our center point where the eyes sit. And then about midway from here to here, which is where your ears are going to be, from the middle to one of the ears, you draw a line down here, and then do it again on the other side. And this is going to be like where the pupils are. Well, not pupils, depending on like what way it's facing, but it's just ovals just to mark the eyes. And the eyes should always be one eye apart, so the space in between will be the same size as this, will be the same size as that. And then I like to make my eyes a little bit closer to the outside, but you can just change anything according to what you like. And then midway from the midpoint to the chin, you draw another line right in the center, and that will mark where the end of your nose is. And then from the tip of the nose to the chin, right in the middle again, that will be where the lips are. And then you want to connect this line that you've just made in between the center and the chin. I like to make like a little triangle to mark exactly where the nose is. I like to have a lot of like triangles in my art, so that's gonna be the tip of the nose, and then this is like shading underneath the nose. And then for the mouth, I don't really do really detailed mouths because it doesn't fit my style, but I just add like a little cupid's bow, a line, and a dot. And also, usually you will notice when you're looking at a picture of someone that the end of the mouth lines up with where your tear duct is, like the inner corner of your eye. So just make little guidelines and then match it up. Obviously, depending on the character, you can either shorten it or extend it. But I usually just like following that guideline because it's easier for me. From the chin, you want to connect it to the ear with like kind of like a triangle. And then this is going to be like the cheekbones, kind of. Again, depending on like what character you're drawing, it's always like changing. And then if they have like a rounded jaw, you can obviously go like that. I'm just, yeah, I'll make it into one of my OCs. So my OCs tend to have pretty boxy heads, either boxy or like really sharp. But I always like doing like, you've got the chin and then it comes out a little bit, and then again you just connect it up to the ear. This looks a little bit weird, I'm not gonna lie. And then this is like I said earlier, that is where the hairline starts. And then I don't really have a certain point that I draw the eyebrows, but I just do it like just above the eye random. And I like, for the forehead, I usually make it go in a little bit and then make it come back out as soon as it hits like the eye line. And then I have it go like a little bit wonky inwards. And then the hair starts, and then this is like top of the hair, head, all around, whatever. So I won't do the hair yet, that will be for another part, but for the actual eyes, I don't really have a certain way of doing them. It's like always changing, but whenever I do stuff like eyes and noses, I always add like a little extra line, just like something like that. So I'm just gonna, it is really hard for me to see this because I'm so far away, because I can't move my head. Ooh, kind of fucked that up a bit. I can't really move my head that close like I usually do because I have my camera in the way. And I don't want my face to be in it. I don't even know if you can see this right now. But again, I use like a lot of triangular shapes. So I have like a little triangle thing at the bottom, And then I give all of my OCs eye bags. My OC, his eyes are like more sharper than that, so I'm just gonna add like more eyelash, and then I always add like an eyelid depending on like the character, because for example, if you're drawing like an Asian person, if they have like monolids or double eyelids, it's always gonna like be changing, so you need to always be sure to look up references depending on like what you're trying to draw, because there is a lot of variation between like different ethnicities and stuff. Extend it a bit for the like nostrils. I forgot what it's called, but like the bit between your nose and your cheeks. And then hair, I just kind of scribble. Oh, I forgot. Ears. Your ears come from your eye line and they go down to the bottom of your nose. Obviously, you can exaggerate this depending on like what character you're drawing, but that is typically like regular human anatomy. You can kind of notice this does look really stiff. This isn't typically what I like to do when drawing faces. I always like to draw them kind of like at a slant or an angle, which gives me a lot more like leeway to change different aspects of the face and like wrinkles and stuff like that. So I'm gonna show you how I do like side profiles and different kind of poses depending on the position of, not poses, faces and like expressions and stuff. Hey, this is future me. I forgot that I didn't do anything about expressions, so I'm gonna do some stuff about expressions really quick. So this is really hard. You've got like okay, you've got basic face. Let's do a sad expression. Typically eyebrows are gonna go up and the face and like skin is gonna wrinkle depending on what expression you're making. It may be really awkward, but I do recommend just making faces at yourself in the mirror and just like looking at all the changes that your facial structure makes. It's kind of funny because whenever I make expressive drawings, I end up subconsciously making faces. So if I'm fucking drawing in public, then I'll just be sat there making the weirdest expression. And it is so embarrassing, but it's whatever. And then for angry, you get like, oh, you can't see. You get like your brows. Oh, I didn't even, okay. You can get your eyes, and then your nose, when you're like angry or even when you're sad, your nose can like wrinkle up a little bit. That's something that I really love exaggerating. I love nose wrinkles, especially like cheek wrinkles. Delicious. I love drawing them. It will also maybe impact like the way that your eyes look, and all of that. Also, it's important to recognize that mouths also follow the shape of the face. I forgot if I've already said this in the video so far or not. But your face is not just flat. The mouth, it doesn't just, if you're like, it has an open mouth, it doesn't just go like that. It's not just flat. You need to actually like make it curve along with the different parts of the face, especially the teeth, and that will help give it like a lot more dynamic. Okay, that's like the basics. Bye, back to past me. Okay, so again, I just start off with like a circle, and I'm gonna make it like a little bit bigger this time so that I can actually fucking see. And then again, shoot like a little square. I usually use the square for like where the actual face is gonna lay, so depending on like the position you can change it to. The circle is kind of like a base, like the actual bulk of the skull, and then the square is supposed to represent the actual like flat face part, which you can build dimension to later. So again, chin, this is typically where I draw the hairline. Got midpoint is going to be here. Also, depending on perspective, it is really important to, not even in depth, but to some extent learn how to do like foreshortening. The further away something is, the like smaller it gets, or like the angle changes, or whatever. So if it's like slanted, then this box on the left side of the face is gonna be a lot more squished than the one on the right side that we're looking at. So I pinpoint the hairline, obviously, like I just said, and now to do like the forehead part, I just go straight from here and whoa, pause for a second, I forgot to mark where the eyes are. So again, here, this is gonna be like the top of the head, so like about halfway down it's gonna be like here, and where it's at an angle, I'm gonna draw it a little bit curved. I do want it to be kind of like facing downwards, but like slanted. So again, back to the forehead, go like that, and where it meets the brow bone, I like to just like stick it out a little bit, just to make it a little bit more like interesting to look at. Okay, that is like way better. And then I forgot what I was saying before that. Okay. You've got the eyeline again. Oh, the ear. Okay, when I do like angled faces, I always start from like the jaw to find out like, okay, so you know, like, for example, the ear starts at the eyeline and ends at the nose line. Obviously you can take that and apply that to this drawing, but obviously you're not gonna know how far back to put it. Like, you can put it back here, and now your ear is like on the back of your head, and that's not correct. But just like studying skulls, this is something that I did for my art exams. I looked at pictures of skulls, like side skulls, like looking downwards, and it actually really helps because when you look at skulls, you can see like where all of the different holes are for every single, like your eye or your nose, and it helps you figure out like where exactly on the face they are placed. Then after that, it's just figuring out how the skin and like fat warps around it. My braces are fucking like itching my arm. Hang on. Okay. But you don't want your ear to be like right on the back of your head or like on your face. So I look at the jaw and I go literally diagonally, and then you're gonna match it to here. This is where the eyeline meets this diagonal line, and then you've got halfway down is where the nose is gonna be. And then this, remember to like curve your line. It's gonna meet here. So then you just draw a little curve, and that is where the ear is gonna sit. And then obviously you can add like little details and stuff. So moving on to the nose. Obviously, I still use the triangle, but when I do side profiles, I prefer to like curve it down, especially when like the head is like angled downwards, and I just like to kind of match it up, and add like a little bit more detail, and then the brow bone is here, so that's gonna like curve in here, and again, the differences in like different nose structures, it's gonna be a lot more noticeable when you're looking at it from like a side angle. At least that's what I've found. So obviously depending on who you're drawing, it's gonna change. And then for the eyes, I just put bop. And then I like to again make my eyes a little bit triangular. And because it's facing down, you're gonna see more of the eyelid. So I just make the eyelid a lot more visible, basically. I do want to say, it is really hard to draw this eye on the shorter side of the face. I don't know what it is, but for me, it is it is so fucking hard. I hate doing it. But anyway, again, I just like adding like a little bit of a extra line in there. I will be talking about line weight in a couple of minutes too. So just that'll be fun. And then again, about halfway down, it's important to note that when you do like faces that are, I'll just fuck it up, do a square. When you draw faces that are front on, it is obviously going to follow the correct proportions. Like, eyeline is halfway down the face, nose line is halfway down from the eyeline to the chin, the mouth is halfway. But when you have something on like an angle, it is going to be a lot more harder depending on the perspective. So obviously you've got like the nose line here now that it's like tilted, but if you do the mouth halfway down here, it is going to look like a little bit weird, and it's going to look like you just like squished the face. So you need to kind of make sure that when you do that, you need to obviously make sure the line is curved for starters, because the face isn't just like flat. And then you've got your nose, and then when you draw at like an angle, it's gonna get brought up a little bit. Like if the face is pointing downwards and you're looking at it from above, you're gonna want to bring the mouth up like that. So you can see like the difference from that to that, especially where it's like more curved on the second one. It's a lot easier to look at. Also remember, the inner corner rule still applies. I'm just realizing how fucking bad this one looks. Anyway, this is how it should look when you follow it. Well, not how it should look, but just this is how my faces look following this, like, technique. Obviously, like, with some characters, this one has a shorter nose and it's more circular rather than triangular. And depending on, like, the ages of certain characters, like, for this one, he's obviously an older man, so I've made the triangle for his nose a lot more, like, wider and rounded to make it, like, a little bit more fatter. And then for, like, skinnier faces, the triangle is going to be, like, more sharper. You're going to see the cheekbone a lot more. The jaw is going to be a lot more, like, sharper, as well as the cheek and forehead muscles. But you know, this style is something that I'm constantly changing. It's something that you can always, like, adapt and change whenever you see fit to make it fit, like, certain characters and such. Which I guess is why I like this style so much. It's so, like, versatile. You can do so much with it. Like, just depending on what you want to change. Like, it all fits together really well. But anyway. For the side profile, it's pretty much the same thing. I just do circle, which is going to be back of the skull, and then the faceplate is going to be a square. Also, the skull is not perfectly circle, so I like to put this, like, line for the faceplate a little bit further, which is, like, more oval. And then you want to follow, like, the same kind of technique. You've got, like, top of the head, you've got the jaw, this is where the eyeline's going to be, you got like that, which is going to mark where the ear is going to be at the side of the head. And then again, for the forehead, you're just going to come down following this line, and then as soon as you get to the eyeline, well, like a little bit of eyeline, perhaps brow bone, and then curve it in like that. And then again, you've got the, like, triangle for the nose, and then the lips. The lips is something to throw in. So it's just got triangle for the nose. I usually like to make the lips like that, so it's like a sideways down, but like in cursive, basically. Just like that. And then obviously, well, I was going to say, halfway across the skull, you're going to have, like, the line here, and that is where the jaw is off, like, that meets the apiary, and then got neck, and then halfway down, you got neck, and then all that good stuff. And then the eye, again, just like a little triangle, like that. Again, you can change it depending on what character you're drawing. But anyway, moving on. But moving on to how I do poses, I have, like, sorry, this is my laptop. I have, like, a Pinterest board just full of different poses. I mainly get all of my references from, like, Greek statues. That is, like, a big source of my inspiration, so let's just pick one at random. Okay, we're using this one. Okay, I'll just do it down here. Basic anatomy. You've got, like, the head, and then you've got, like, your neck, and then your rib cage is like that, and then you have, like, the bottom of your rib cage / your diaphragm, which will always be like a curve. And then I like to do, like, little lines here for the shoulders and, like, triangles going in. Then you've got, like, your spine, and then obviously the feet are gonna be, like, down here. And then I like to do, like, the hips about halfway down, and then obviously you can change it depending on the character. Like, if they have long legs, then you can, like, raise the hips upwards or, like, expand them or literally whatever. So, like, about halfway, hips are gonna be here. You've got the pelvis, which is roughly like that shape. I don't really study anatomy that well. I just scribble and hope it comes out right. You've got, like, collarbones, and then if you're drawing, like, a female character, then the chest is typically gonna be like a upside down heart shape. Obviously you can change it depending on like the character. And then from here, about halfway down is where the kneecap is. And then you've got like the bone, which is like here, and they usually go like inwards. And then you've got that there, and then that there. These are gonna be like you have two bones in your calves. And then you've got like your ankles, and then obviously feet are there, and you do like different toes. I don't fucking know. And then you've got like the shoulders, and this, and your hands are always gonna be like kind of halfway down your thigh ish. Again, I like to use triangles when I'm doing the hands. You've got that, and then your elbows are roughly halfway. So it's like pretty much like that. And then for the thighs, how I like to sculpt them is I go like around the hips, and then obviously depending on the character you can do like different size thighs, but I'm just kind of doing like the basic generic. Then you've got like a lot of fat around the thighs. Thighs are usually a place on your body which you store like a lot of fat, again depending on the person. I typically have I have big thighs, so I like drawing characters with big thighs. And you've got like the kneecap. The knee is always going to stick out a little bit and come in. And then for the calves, you're still going to have like a lot of fat like around the top of your calves, and then it will gradually like get smaller and mold to the bone, not exactly as it reaches your ankle. You've got like little, and then I don't draw feet, so just take this with a grain of salt. I just like toes. I don't like toes, I just scribble for the toes. Anyway, you go around the rib cage. Also the chest doesn't just like stick on to the ribs, it actually molds to your like armpits. And then you go around the ribs and like that, and then obviously you've got like belly button and like stomach pouch that a lot of girls have. And then obviously neck, got face, and you can do whatever. And then arms is pretty self-explanatory. Your upper arms are gonna be a bit bigger, and then I like to like accentuate the lower part of the arm by like making it a little bit bigger, and then mold it to the wrist, just like that. And got the armpit, and then hands. Okay, that is pretty much how I do my anatomy. It's pretty self-explanatory. Obviously you're gonna have like different areas depending on like gender. Men, biological men tend to have like less fat stored on them, so obviously you can be like a little bit more like that. Obviously they do still have chests. It's not just biological females that have them. Not full on like tits, but they do still have like quite a bit of fat in their pecs, which again depending on the character and like their muscle structure, it's gonna be more like fitted to the bone structure instead of just being like you know. But yeah, typically more fitted to the bone structure. They don't have as much fat on them. Kneecaps stay pretty much the same. You've got ankle, toes, whatever. The knees do look very inwards. It's not supposed to look like that. Obviously depending on the pose, it's gonna look different for each pose. But that's just the basics, I guess. Also I like to do a little V-line because why not? Anyway, moving on to the actual pose process, I did show the pose that I'm gonna be referencing. But basically what I do for the general positioning, I don't like sketching it out, like just looking at it. I don't like going like that. You've got the nose, lips, chin, ear, and you get that, and you've got... I don't like being really precise like this, especially in the sketch, because it can get like really out of hand. You've got the neck. No, I don't do that. What I do is I'm gonna put my laptop in front of me so I can actually look, and I just putting in lines that literally have no meaning, and I just hope and pray and hope that I can somewhat get like a general gist off of the pose. This is going pretty bad. Sometimes I have to redo it because it doesn't turn out the way I want and I can't really see much in the lines. And then what I do now is I basically like go in and refine it. So you can see that you've got like the chin there, and you've got like a tiny little bit like a triangular gap here between the neck and the collarbone. And you go up like that, and this is gonna be where the side profile is. You've got like head, chin. This is kind of like a curve. You've got collarbone and like a triangle. His pec is kind of like a square, and that follows over to the other one. And then it is like a, I usually tend to fill in negative space. And negative space is basically where like you don't have anything in there. So for example, it could be like the background or like behind a pose. So you can see like between the arm and his stomach, you have this kind of like space that doesn't have any body parts in it. So I'm just gonna fill that in, not really paying attention to the actual body parts. And now you can see we've kind of got like a basic outline of where the arm is gonna be. We've got collarbone, shoulder here, and then you've got like a little line defining his bicep. And then got that. And then the hand. You can see there's like a little line where his wrist stops. And then his hand, I tend to do like triangles for them. And he's got like one finger's down here, got one behind here, and then pinky. He doesn't have a thumb showing that much, so I'll just pop one in there. He's got his other hand, it's just like doodling fingers. And then his knee, well, you can't see. He's got his knee, and that's kind of like a circle, like a hexagon kind of. Then he's got like a little bit of an indent, and then it goes back into like a curve. You cannot see that at all, sorry. Indent, curve. He's got like ankle, and then he's got like a rock there, so it's getting like pressed up against the rock, so it's like squishing the muscle in his leg. It's like that, and then again with the negative space, you've got like a little bit of room in there where the boulder is, and there's like his other leg is behind it, and just bring, that's a little bit further down, bring that out, like just like that. Then you've got his thigh, which again with the negative space, you want to keep that. And then his thigh like that where he's like sitting on the rock, you've got like the underside of his thighs getting like pressed up, so there's gonna be more fat here. Can you shut the fuck up? My family's being really fucking loud. And then you've got that, and then all that's left is like the other arm. So obviously you've got like pec here, got armpit, and then bicep, elbow, just a bit far back. And then that down. I think I might have miscalculated where the hand is, but it's fine. Okay, that looks a little bit ass, but it's okay. It's okay. Now what I do is, I'm not gonna go in with the red. I'm gonna get my fine liner. I use a .005 fine liner. It's fucking tiny. Then now I guess I'm just gonna do what I did for the previous faces. Got head there, brow bone in. His nose comes down to like here, sideways. In the picture, his head isn't. In the picture, his head isn't that sideways, but it's just personal preference. I don't like doing it, like doing faces that are like. My pen is dying. I don't like doing faces that are like that and. I mean, whatever. I'll just keep it like that because it looks fine. I've got my hairline down here, ears here. I'm not directly referencing the picture anymore, or the reference anymore. I'm just kind of doing my own thing. At this point of the drawing, this is like where I prefer to take my own liberties with it and not get like stuck to the confines of the reference. Because it's not very fun. Okay. I'm so sorry if you can hear my family. I don't know what they're laughing at. But got that. Also, you might notice that when I'm like doing poses or just like drawing in general, whenever it meets like, or whenever I'm doing a line and then sketching and it meets another line, I scribble a little bit. And what that does is basically line weight. I said I would talk about that earlier. But line weight is basically, you have like a couple of lines like that. If you draw that, it's not going to be very interesting. And then you just do the same thing again. And then every single time that a line meets another line, all I'm doing is just adding a little triangle, and then that will make it so much more like interesting to look at. That is something I picked up from Tamika in 2018. Okay, then we've got one pec, and then that, and then he's kind of got like his stomach coming out a little bit there. because he's like hunched over. When you're like hunched over, your stomach is gonna get a little bit more compressed, which is gonna result in like little curves and rolls happening, which is something I really like drawing. Bruh. Okay, then you've got like the actual stomach down there, and then I'm not looking at the reference too much anymore. All I'm doing is just following the lines that I put down, and I'm just trusting my own judgment basically. I don't think I'm gonna do the hands because I don't like drawing hands all that much. Then I'll do that. I also like, you can't even see, I like doing lines on the hand. They're not too visible for me, but I do really like them, so I'm just gonna add them in there. And then the thigh comes over the top like that, again with the line weight. Whoops, that's gonna come down. I'm gonna make that meet up. Get that? You've got like that part on the knee. Also, I saw someone say the other day, not saw someone say, I did see someone say, this isn't something that I'm like new to seeing, because it was a meme a couple years ago, but basically, someone said that kneecaps kind of look like baby faces, which, yeah, I mean, I kind of see it a little bit, it's kind of freaky. They don't look too much like it now, but, ow, you can definitely see it in some pictures. I also really like making like double lines, so for example this here, I'll make one line in the middle to define each pec, and then I'll do like another line at the bottom here, and maybe I'll add like a little dot. And again, that just makes it like look a lot more interesting. It's like you've got one line, but what if you can have two lines? What if you can have two lines and a dot at the end? It just makes it look a lot more like interesting to look at and like cohesive. I don't know why I did that. It just makes it look a little bit more interesting. This is not going to be turned into like a full-on, this pose is not going to be turned into a full-on drawing. This is just me showing the basics, and then I'll probably like cut out some parts of this video, because at this point it's going to be way too long. But it's fine. It's okay. My videos are really long anyway. I have been trying to make them shorter, but I just, for some reason, I fucking can't do that. Ooh, that eye is way too far down. Okay, then I'm gonna give him some hair. He's gonna have long hair, and he's gonna look like a pretty princess. Okay, my pen is 100% running out. Also for the back of the heads, I like making it like triangular or like really boxy. You might notice that in a couple of my drawings, but it's just out of habit. Habit? Everyman hybrid? Whoa, sorry. But that's pretty much it. That's how I do my poses for the main part. A lot of the time I do just draw like poses from my head. Like for example, this pose that I did, this was a whole thing. Ignore that. But this whole pose was done with no reference. You can kind of tell. But we're just gonna ignore that. Okay. But that's pretty much it. Okay. When you try and do something like this example that I just did, it can end up being really stiff. That is why I do like multiple layers and different sketches. That is why I'm so like that with the sketch. I also do that for faces. Like if I was just to do like a random face down here, like I'm just being really sketchy with it, not really paying too much attention. It has definitely helped me with like my time managing skills, because when I was working on my exam coursework for my art GCSEs, I lagged behind a lot. It's probably gonna be why I fail. I'm not gonna fail, please. That's a whole other thing. I'll talk about that later. But I was really slow. My teacher would always kind of like shit on me, because of how slow I work, and it got to a point where I had to literally like sit down and teach myself how to not be so slow, because it was fucking me up. I was fine in the end, I think. His face is like really pissing me off. Okay. Ow, what was that? Okay, just a little other tip that I have for you guys. If you have a drawing that you don't like, or if you have something in a drawing that you don't like and you want to cover it up, don't use whiteout, because that can make it look really muddy. Well, you can use it if you want, but this is just a personal opinion. What I do is I usually get a sticky note, but for some reason I can't find any right now. And just stick that over the top, and if it looks gross, don't worry, because you can always fix it later. That's fine. I don't like this one. This one was just a fucking scribble. Don't be too precise, because it can make your drawings look so unbelievably stiffy, and that is not good. Unless you want it to be stiffy, but I don't like that with my own stuff. Going back to this face, someone did ask me, hi Caleb, someone did ask me, how I shade faces. I don't know if he was talking about, like, with color or not with color, but I'm just gonna rub out all of my guidelines to make it easier for me. With pencil, it is very easy. that's a whole other part of the video that I haven't done yet. Fuck. I literally pick a light source. I'll do it from here because that's like basic. And then the light is gonna shine down from this direction, and it is gonna hit all of the parts that like stick out. If you look at references of people's faces in certain lighting, you're gonna notice that the face is not flat. The light is going to rebound and hit different places depending on where it is. So even the chin and like lips, I usually do shading with like curves and such. But everywhere that is not being hit by the light, I just go in and do a little bit of shading. And then I specifically really like doing it underneath the nose because that gives it a lot more depth. You typically see a lot of shading underneath, or like, yeah, underneath eyebrows, and underneath eyes if they have like little eye bags. Do it like that. Sorry, I'm like really focused. Yeah, I like this. Okay. Also for shading hair, I'm not too precise. There is a moth in my fucking room. But I'm not too precise. All I do is just scribble. Just like that. You want to make sure that it's a different tone from the face because then it can get really muddy and like confused. That is why I like doing harsh outlines for hair, just so that you can separate it from the face. And now what I do is I take my finger and I smudge it. I used to get shouted at for doing this in primary school. Not shouted at, but my art teacher did not like when I did this. I used to do it when I shaded faces, and it's not recommended to do that. I don't recommend doing that for faces, but because it can get really like dirty and muddy, and it's overall not a good look, at least in my opinion. But when it comes to hair, you can get away with it a lot more because there is a lot more for you to rub out after you do that. So after I've smudged it, I'm gonna take my rubber or literally anything that you use, and you take the tip of it or like the side and get like nice sharp lines up the side like that. And then now that you've rubbed those out, you can go back and be like a lot more precise and add little lines that make it look a bit more interesting and shade in some of those parts and just redraw anything that got rubbed out. Again, remember that you do have a specific light source, so there's not going to be as much light hitting this part of the hair than there is going to be hitting these parts of the hair. Capiche? Capiche. Hi guys, future Nico right now. I'm so fucking tired. It's almost midnight. I'm hungry. But anyway, here is a quick time lapse of me just like putting all of these tips into a drawing. Right now I'm drawing my OC Quinn, my OC Damon, and I don't usually draw two people poses too often, but I thought that it could be a good chance, to actually practice it. I didn't go into how I shade clothing, at all, but I just use like a bunch of triangles and stuff, and oh, what am I doing? I'm showing you how I shade. Okay, cool. I just make little tiny lines and then I go back over it in a different direction later. And yes, nice hand movements. I do the same for like hair and especially under the neck. I really like making the under neck part pretty dark. Oh, I'm showing you how I do it. Yep. Oh, okay, okay. You can go listen to past me now. Bye. Folds and very like shadowy areas, like clothing folds, or specifically under the neck. Oh, and the nose is a place that I tend to do it. I forgot that freckles. Anyway, that is pretty much it. There's not really much else that I do. Obviously, I do color quite a lot of my pieces. That's a whole other thing that I'm pretty sure this video is already like super long anyway. If I put that in this video, I probably won't even be able to upload it into CapCut because it will be too fucking long. But anyway, I'll probably make like a separate... I need to stop doing that. I'll probably make like a separate video on the whole coloring thing. I'll probably save that for after the sketchbook tour because I have been working my fucking ass off. I posted my last video took me a whole week to make, and I didn't sleep for 2 days to make it, and it's only gotten 100 views and it's been up for a day, which is kind of upsetting, but it's fine. You should totally go watch it if you're still watching. It goes over these guys' lore and some of my other OCs, which I think is pretty cool. But anyway, thank you for watching. I hope some of this was like insightful. Sorry. What am I talking about? I hope some of this helped. And you find some use out of it. If you do follow this tutorial, you should totally like post it on TikTok and tag me in it, or Instagram. These are my ats. It would be pretty cool if I had people doing that. Anyway, I'll put it in like a highlights thing of like people trying it out if anyone actually does it. But thank you all for watching. I hope this helps. I will be posting my next sketchbook tour very soon. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pages left until I'm finished. And then I will be posting the sketchbook tour, and I've done three spreads today. So I'll get it done pretty soon. I really want to fucking get this sketchbook done because I'm losing motivation. This video was low-key kind of an excuse to get some more pages out. But anyway, again, hope you enjoyed. Thank you for watching. Spread kindness, love, joy. Drink water, sleep good, eat. Bye bye.